Right now at 5, 2 bodies found in a Joplin home are being investigated by authorities.
And we're watching for the possibility of flooding in our area with some storms later on tonight and tomorrow morning. I'll have all the details.
And Goodman, Missouri looks at a couple of ballot issues right before the April election.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach.
And I'm Sam Lane, standing in for Chris Warner this morning, getting a little bit dressed here still, looking at the latest data coming in because it looks like we're going to have quite a bit of rain moving into the area. We talked about this yesterday about the possibility of several inches of rain. Well, now we're under flood watch, or at least parts of our area is, and so it's something we're going to find. Right now we're looking at mostly clear conditions as far as...
Turn your mic on.
It is on. It's on now. Do you hear me now? Is everything okay now? Someone in the booth, tell me. Are we okay? Okay, good. All right, we're good. All right, we have mostly conditions right now, generally muggy and cloudy with no precipitation. And as we go through the day, we're going to start to see the rain develop. Right now, flood watches are in effect for parts of southwestern Missouri until Saturday at 1 a.m. Down in Oklahoma, the flood watch is in effect until tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. and also in northwestern Arkansas for Benton County. So it's something that we're going to have to watch and monitor very, very closely, especially in our southern counties. 68 today for cloudy skies, and then temperatures are going to be falling through the day as the rain begins. 60 by 2 o'clock, 58 by 4 o'clock, with the heavier rain beginning later on tonight. And of course, we'll have all the details coming up in our forecast in just a little bit, so stay with us.
All right, thanks, Sam. The Kansas Bureau of Investigation investigates the remains of a body found in Wilson County. The body is identified as 43-year-old Stephanie Willard of Fredonia. Her remains were discovered by hunters last Thursday in a pasture in an area near Decatur Road, south of Coyville. KBI asked anyone who had contact with Willard in the last 3 weeks to contact them or the Wilson County Sheriff's Office. Police investigate the deaths of 2 people found in a Joplin home. Police tape surrounds a home in the Easttown neighborhood. Investigators say the 2 adults found dead inside lived at the home. They're identified as 24-year-old Savannah Bell and 44-year-old Jason Schofler. On Wednesday, police received a request for a wellness check at the home at 1403 East Broadway. And they say after a further investigation, officers forced their way into the home and found the 2 bodies. But police say they're still trying to determine what happened and when. Police Captain William Davis tells us an autopsy will be conducted today. Davis says he believes this is an isolated case and there's no threat to the public. However, their investigation continues. Police in St. Robert, Missouri are investigating a shooting that left 2 people dead. It started as a car crash in the parking lot of a beauty salon, but has now turned into a homicide investigation. Police will not say much about who the victims are, just that it's a 29-year-old man from Fort Leonard Wood and a 33-year-old woman who worked at the salon. The police chief says their bodies were found behind the salon. There was another employee in the salon who was not hurt. Family and friends gathered to mourn the deaths.
Great mom. She loved her kids. She'd do anything for her kids. I literally just went on her Facebook and seen a post about it she made yesterday about her kids. So it's just like to see that and then wake up the next morning and she's gone is heartbreaking. And to imagine what her kids are going through, that's even worse.
No one would confirm if the dead man was in the military, but the Army's CID, or Criminal Investigation Division, was out there working with St. Robert Police on this case. Goodman, Missouri looks toward a couple of ballot issues ahead of the election on April 4th. The proposition for public safety looks to add a 1% general sales tax to help funding for law enforcement equipment and maintenance. They also hope to add a new officer. The city is also looking to invest in repaving roads. The city will take out a $750,000 loan and use the city's mass transportation tax revenue to pay it back. Goodman decided to not repave just sections of the roads, but to repave all of the city's roads.
All of them at once as opposed to one road at a time. If we do it all at once, we've locked into the price right here, right now. We've all seen the price of things over just the last 1 year. And the lending agency that I just talked to said that they anticipate 2 to 3 more increases this year alone. So let's lock into it right now.
The repaving will be around 6 miles total of roads and is expected to begin July 1st. City of Granby, Missouri is looking to pass an $11 million bond. It's to extend and improve the waterworks and sewer system. The money would pay for land and rights of way, the cost of operation and maintenance, and interest on the bond. The city says this would not affect the tax at all, as it's going to sell bonds and will be paid back on the rate increase of the city's water.
It's a project that nobody likes to do, but it's essential that if you're going to continue as a city and continue to grow, you have to have an efficient water system.
The mayor says if it does not pass, they will try to fix the system without the money, but they say they're worried it'll increase the bond price in the future. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Neosho takes on Reed Spring for its first game in the Roy B. Shaver Classic. We'll have more in sports. Plus, a Kansas man creates a phone booth that lets those grieving talk to their loved ones who've passed on. And having caffeine in your blood could help reduce your risk of type 2 diabetes. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
And welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. The Missouri Southern Lions continue to climb in the national rankings this week, and the Lions have cracked the top 10 in the country, moving up to number 7 in the latest NCBWA poll released yesterday. Southern is on the field for a non-conference game against Missouri S&T, looking for their 11th win in just 13 games. The Lions taking care of business 14-5. Chayton Beck goes on 1-3 with a 2-run double, and Southern actually had 5 players today with 2 RBIs each. And the Neosho Wildcats host the Roy B. Shaver Classic this week. The tournament features 8 southwestern Missouri teams playing over the next few days, with the championship scheduled for Saturday. The tournament hosts Wildcats played their first game of the Classic yesterday afternoon against Reed Spring. And in the first inning, Austin Rodriguez up for Neosho. I really thought he'd put this one out, but it goes off the fence out there and left. That brings Wyatt Shattuck home. RBI double for Rodriguez. Wildcats go up 2-0 after 1. To the 4th, they add to the lead. Eli Czar grounds it through the left side. River Brill trots in from 3rd, and Neosho gets 5 in the inning to take control of the game. On the mound, Quentin Hewis, good all day for Neosho, strikeout there. He throws the whole game. Reed Spring only manages 1 run, and Hughes also gets some help from defense. On the fly to right, Wyatt Shattuck, nice diving grab there. Neosho ends this one 1-5. They win their tournament opener over Reed Spring 11-1. And in the second game of the day, another early finish. Neosho beats Hillcrest 10-0 in 6 innings. Carter Finsky throws a no-hitter for the Wildcats, racking up 14 strikeouts. Eli Czar gets a 2-run homer, and Neosho is back on the field noon on Friday against Diamond. This weekend is a big weekend for Missouri Southern softball. The Lions host a doubleheader against Northeastern State Saturday before facing the defending national champion, Rogers State, for 2 more on Sunday. Southern has been one of the best in the league so far, and the Lions are 18-7 overall and 3-1 against MIAA opponents. They're getting big-time contributions across the board, including senior Leighton Withers. She leads the team and is second in the MIAA with 32 RBIs, and she already has 9 home runs this season after totaling 8 last year.
Nothing changed. She's been able to play an entire season this year. Last year it got cut half short, and this has been in her the entire time. It's just right now she's healthy enough to play ball, and she's having a lot of success. I'm really proud of her.
It's really exciting. You know, last season got cut short. I got mono. I didn't get to play the last month and a half, and so I think that anticipation, all off season, I just had season in mind, working, fine tuning things, and Coach B is a great hitting coach. Also, that doesn't hurt things, and just having confidence. My teammates have confidence in me, and it feels good.
And former Webb City standout Tristan Coloni-Costawi has a new home in the NFL. Colon-Costawi has signed a deal to join the New York Jets. He spent the first 3 years of his career with the Ravens, appearing in 20 games and making 4 starts. He was an All-State pick for Webb City as a senior back in 2015. And our sports director, Jacob Leonard, has a chance to talk to him yesterday about signing with New York. And you can check out the story on our website at koamnewsnow.com. Still to come, more than 24 people are injured when a ship tips over in Scotland. Plus, I'll have a look at the 7-day forecast, which looks pretty wet when the KOAM Morning News returns. And good morning. We are starting out with mostly cloudy skies this morning, windy, warm, and muggy conditions out there, kind of setting the stage for what we're expecting later on today. You can see in Seneca, Missouri right now at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, things are looking pretty calm. Your allergies, if they're bothering you, there's a good reason for that. Yesterday we were in the 11 category. Today it's going to be 9.4 out of 12, so it's still going to be bad. But after the rainfall, it's going to drop all the way down to 1 by tomorrow. So you just have one more day to deal with the allergies. Right now on radar, it's pretty much clear, but we do have a flood watch in effect for southwestern Missouri. This goes until Saturday at 1 a.m. In Oklahoma, the flood watch goes until 7 p.m. on Friday. That also includes our northwestern Arkansas County, Benton County, and it's anticipation of all this moisture that's developing down in southern New Mexico and West Texas. All of that is advancing off towards the north and east. We're expecting rain to develop later on this afternoon and evening, and it's going to come down quite heavy as the atmosphere is extremely full of water right now. Temperatures are in the 60s and 70s right now, 71 in Miami, 70 in Grove. But notice there is a front up to the north, and that is going to sag its way to the south today, and we're going to see temperatures falling as we go through the afternoon. But dew points are very muggy in the 50s and 60s right now. In Joplin, mostly cloudy skies, 69 degrees, south-southwest wind at 25, at times gusting to 37. So hold on to the wheel if you're driving this morning. Feels like 69. Of course, the dew point is 59, so the humidity is high at 70%. In Pittsburgh, it's 68 degrees, south wind at 16, gusting to 28, and a high humidity of 84%. The risk of severe weather has been expanded a little bit to include parts of our area later on today. The biggest threat, though, is going to be maybe some small hail with this, a moderate risk of that. But the biggest threat is going to be the heavy rainfall. There's a high risk of heavy rainfall, and that's why we're under a flood watch for parts of our area. Then tomorrow, there's going to be a lot of severe weather and tornadoes in Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi, but that's going to be well away from us, thank goodness. Winds today are going to start to calm down as we go through the afternoon. As that front moves through, we're going to see the winds turn around to the north and become lighter, but then the rain starts picking up. In fact, here's a look at the forecast. This afternoon at around 5 o'clock, temperatures in the 50s with rain developing. And then as we go through the overnight hours, look at this big swath of heavy rain right across the I-44 corridor. Then as we go into Friday morning, we're going to see temperatures in the 40s with north winds. And then Friday afternoon, temperatures will be in the 40s and 50s as the storm system moves away from us. And by Saturday morning, lows in the 30s. And then in the afternoon, highs should make it up back up into the 50s. And by Sunday morning, a little bit milder with lows in the 30s and the 40s. Rainfall amounts are going to be incredible, especially to the north and east. Generally around a half an inch to the north and west, around an inch in the metro area, higher amounts just to the south and east. Over the next 7 days, we have the alert day for today and tomorrow with their heavy rainfall, and then Saturday and Sunday looks like showers on Sunday, and then drier as we head towards the middle part of next week. All right, a Kansas man has created a phone booth for people to speak to loved ones who have passed. The wind phone concept comes from a Japanese practice used for processing grief. Wyoung Kim shows us how and why it works.
So many of us carry deeply rooted pain from losing a loved one. There are things we wish we could have said, didn't know how to say, or perhaps didn't have the chance to say. So many of those emotions can become a lifetime of burden if left unsaid. That's why a one-way phone call is so powerful. Jeff Ratzliff wants people to release and let go. He understands firsthand carrying the weight of words left unsaid, doors left unclosed.
There's always the what ifs, the shoulda, coulda, wouldas.
Ratzliff wanted to build this phone booth as a portal to help people get to the other side of grief. The idea is that the messages said aloud in here would be symbolically delivered by the wind.
The phone is not connected to anything. People can just go in and dial the number of whoever has passed and have a one-way conversation with them.
I asked the experts at Johnson County Mental Health Center what a one-way phone call, getting it all out and expecting no response, can do.
The phone booth can help us become more resilient as we express ourselves, as we share that frustration or share that sadness.
In partnership with the center, City of Olathe plans to create a QR code directing people to 988, a national mental health crisis line for those looking for help. Inside the phone booth, the last name Rowans is carved on the top. Ratzliff says the phone booth was built in honor of his sister-in-law who passed away last year.
It changed our entire reality.
He hopes this structure that brought so much healing for his family will help peel back the layers for thousands in our community.
It kind of gives a sense of purpose, this building.
And you can visit the WinPhone booth at Lake Olathe in the city of Olathe, Kansas. Which brings us to our question this morning: how do you handle grief? Extra rest, embrace all the emotions, exercise by keeping structure, setting goals, a combination of these or other, or maybe even none of these. We want to hear from you. Be sure to go to our website at koamnewsnow.com/vote and the KOAM app and as well as on Facebook. And we'll be back with Health Watch right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, a new study found more caffeine in your blood reduces your risk for type 2 diabetes. Researchers from Sweden and the UK used genetic markers to link caffeine levels and body mass index. They looked at how quickly people broke down caffeine in the blood. Those with more caffeine in their blood had lower body fat mass. It's been well documented that the amount of body fat a person carries increases their risk of developing diabetes. Therefore, researchers concluded more caffeine meant lower risk of diabetes, but they weren't able to determine how much caffeine was too much. Well, a new study shows Black and Hispanic adults are less likely to get certain cholesterol medications. Statins are used to lower cholesterol levels that are associated with higher risk of cardiovascular disease. The study looked at more than 3,000 people with various risk levels. Across all those levels, fewer Black and Hispanic people were on statins than their white counterparts. The difference was largest among people in the highest risk groups. Black people are 30% more likely to die from cardiovascular disease than white adults. A study co-author says the problem lies in access to both health care and health insurance. Well, getting stuck in traffic can be stressful, but apparently living near it can raise your blood pressure. Researchers in the UK looked at the health information of more than 240,000 people who initially did not have hypertension. Several years later, researchers were surprised to find that people living near noisy traffic were more likely to have developed high blood pressure. And the noisier the traffic, the higher the risk. So road rage can be hazardous to your health even if you live by the road. Can eating certain types of fish reduce your risk of getting severe cases of COVID-19? A study from the University of South Dakota says it may. Scientists found eating fish with high levels of omega-3 fatty acids can help reduce your risk of severe illness from contracting COVID. Patients tested with low omega-3 status were at an increased risk of hospitalization with COVID compared to those who had higher levels. Recommendation from the study: eat more oily fish like salmon or take omega-3 fish oil supplements as part of your diet. Researchers say eating seeds and nuts are a possible way to maintain a healthy heart. Results published in the Food and Nutrition Research Journal show eating a handful of nuts every day decreases the risk of heart disease by 20 to 25%. Researchers say almonds, pistachios, and walnuts ranked among the best for lowering cholesterol. While the review did not provide an exact cause and effect for the results, researchers believe the composition of fatty acids in nuts and seeds is the main factor for reducing heart disease. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
And we're looking at radar, which is all clear right now, but we have rain moving in later on tonight. I'll have all the details.
Right now at 5:30, some students at Pitt State travel back in time to learn dance moves from the late 1800s to the early 1900s.
And radar is all clear right now, but that's going to be changing as we go through the evening hours. Flooding rain's possible. I'll have the details.
And we take a look at how travel trends are faring this travel season.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:29. I'm Tanya Bach.
And I'm Sam Lane, sitting in for Chris Warner today. We have quite a bit of rain coming our way.
We do.
I hope everyone's got an umbrella and their galoshes and so forth. And it's very important for people to remember not to drive through high water, because you never know if the river has washed out the bridge or the road and you drive off into a ditch. And that's actually what has killed most people in this country. It's not tornadoes and hurricanes, it's flash flooding.
Oh, wow.
And so that's what we're concerned about, with the possibility of very heavy rainfall. Right now, radar is clear, but that is not going to be the case as we head through the evening hours. We're going to be seeing a band of some very heavy rainfall setting up across our area. The best chance of that is going to be along and south of I-44. So as a result, a flood watch is in effect for southwestern parts of Missouri, and this goes until Saturday at 1 a.m. And in Oklahoma, it's in effect until Friday at 7 p.m. That includes Craig, Ottawa, Delaware counties, and also northwestern Arkansas, Benton County. That watch is in effect until 7 o'clock. So we're going to keep an eye on it for you. In fact, we're tracking the rain developing later on this evening, a high of 68 today, 62 at noon. Then the rain starts developing in the afternoon as temperatures fall through the 50s. In fact, here's a look at the 7 to 7 forecast. Look at the rain chances dramatically increase once we get past the lunch hour to basically 100%. By 7 o'clock tonight. And over the next 36 hours, you can see the rain chances dramatically increase tonight and this evening. And then in the overnight hours, they stay up there for quite a while, all the way until Friday evening. So it's going to be something we're watching. Flood watch in effect, heavy rain expected tonight. That continues into Friday. And then we finally get a break on Saturday, but then more showers come back in the forecast as we head into Sunday. And of course, it's going to be very interesting to keep a track of all that. And we'll do that for you. And we'll have more details on our forecast in just a little bit.
All right, thanks, Sam. It's a time of financial uncertainty for many in the 4 states and across the nation. And some people may have questions about refinancing their home during these times. Arvest Bank is offering tips for people who may have questions or just want to learn how to do so. And there are a lot of factors that go into refinancing.
The top is consolidating debt. U.S. overall is at the highest it's ever been with credit card debt. And so most of our refinances are people, now that their credit card rates are going up and rates being affected with the Fed does change their credit card rates.
Refinancing rates vary from person to person because they're determined by credit score and debt to income ratio. Well, traveling is not slowing down despite industry setbacks. KOAM's Amber Jenkins spoke to a local travel agent about this travel season.
Traveling is increasing nationwide as peak season arrives. However, the travel industry is currently experiencing a shortage of pilots, flight attendants, and other roles. Terry Littleton at Reservation Travel Services in Joplin believes time will help the shortage.
It affects everybody, and it takes a while. I mean, you can't, you can't train a pilot overnight. You wouldn't want to. So.
The travel problems of yesteryear don't deter travelers now.
Cruises, of course, are crazy busy. They were shut down for about 2 years during the COVID mess, so everybody's clamoring to get on the ships.
The shortage of workers problems is hitting the travel industry as demands grow. Travel agent Scott Austin says travel is 94% back to pre-pandemic levels.
You wouldn't know in the travel industry that there's talks of inflation or a recession because people are willing to spend the money and are excited to travel.
Despite inflation in plane tickets and gas prices, tourists are still excited to travel to their destinations domestically and internationally. Here's what some of them have to say from across the country.
Because we had our own RV and we've just discovered it is a nice way to travel. I don't think it's cheaper though when you consider the expense of the RV and 12 miles the gallon in the truck to pull the RV with.
It's not any more difficult, I don't think, even before COVID it did. I do appreciate not having to wear the mask on the plane anymore and take my chances, but
it's still a pain.
Yeah.
I've been noticing that we had to pay money to get out of the area.
I'm the one that can't sleep in cars. She's the one that can sleep in every single terrain you can think of.
When you compare it to Salt Lake, these roads are really nice.
Reporting in Joplin, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
Travel agents say the shortage of workers is affecting flight delays, layovers, and more. Well, it's March Madness, and one local university made the Elite Four, but not in basketball. Academically, though, it's for Pitt State's Mechanical Contractors Association of America chapter, part of the School of Construction. Pitt State Group was one of 22 chapters to submit a proposal for a national energy project last fall, and the school has now advanced to the Final Four. Sometimes it's more than just competing. Well, dance moves change with time, but some dance moves stick around for decades, even centuries. Students with Professor Janice Jewett's Dance Appreciation class at Pitt State took a trip back in time to learn some dance moves from the late 1800s to the early 1900s. Dances came from many different cultures.
I learned a lot about the Balkans regions and how those affected the style and the vibes of how people in Pittsburgh still dance today.
Next week, the students will take a tour of Immigrant Park downtown and perform dances at the Pritchett Pavilion. The pavilion is the site of a former train depot from the era they are studying. Well, this morning, we're discussing handling grief.
Right. Yep. Jeff Ratliff wants people to realize or to release and let go, but he understands firsthand carrying the weight of words left unsaid or doors left unclosed. And Ratliff wanted to build a phone booth as a portal to help people get to the other side of grief. And the idea is that messages said aloud in here would symbolically be delivered by the wind.
In partnership with the center, the city of Olathe plans to create a QR code directing people to 988. That's a national mental health crisis line for those looking for help. Ratzlaff says the phone booth was built in honor of his sister-in-law who passed away last year. He hopes this structure will bring that brought so much healing for his family will help peel back the layers for thousands in our community.
Which brings us to our question this morning: how exactly do you handle grief? And we have some results there, I think. Looks like a 50% a combination of things, like extra, what was that,
Extra rest.
Extra rest.
Embracing all your emotions, exercise by keeping structure. 25% of people are voting for setting goals, though.
It's interesting.
Good idea.
I think what's helped me is probably just talking to other people about it.
Yeah.
You know, talking and getting all those emotions and feelings out.
And I think that's the idea of this too. If you don't necessarily have someone to talk to, you want to talk to that individual or just talk.
Right.
You can do that on this phone.
Yeah. Very interesting concept. I hope it helps a lot of people.
All right.
We have a lot of weather to talk about, that's for sure. We have some storms moving into our area, so we'll talk more about that in just a little bit, of course.
And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. A psychologist and a barber team up to give more than just a haircut to those in need.
Plus, Japan defeats the U.S. in the World Baseball Classic. Darn it, we'll have the latest.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, the director of a women's prison in Ecuador suffered an assassination attempt, and that's according to a government agency. 2 of the director's family members were killed in the attack, leaving the director and another prison official wounded. A ship tips over while dry docked in Scotland, injuring 25 people. Police and emergency services were called to the Imperial Dock in Edinburgh on Wednesday after receiving reports that a ship had become dislodged from its holding. The Scottish Ambulance Service said 15 of the injured were taken to the hospital. The rest were treated at the scene. Local officials tweeted the ship became dislodged due to strong winds. And there are media reports that the 250-foot ship was a research vessel previously bought and outfitted by the late Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen. British media reports the ship had been moored since 2020 due to challenges brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. Lebanese security forces fired tear gas at protesters trying to gather near government buildings in Beirut. Crowds gathered in the streets of downtown Beirut on Wednesday carrying Lebanon's tricolor flags bearing the logos of security forces. Demonstrators, who were reportedly mostly retired members of the security forces, were out in anger over the deterioration of the value of the state pensions paid in local currency. Lebanon's currency has lost more than 98% of its value against the U.S. dollar since 2019. And a search and rescue effort is underway after a deadly building collapse in Qatar's capital. At least one person was killed when the 4-story structure gave way in Doha on Wednesday. Civil defense and police surrounded the site with several ambulances and an excavator. Workers and police are looking for any possible survivors buried in the rubble. Residents in the area have evacuated as a precaution. No word on what caused the collapse. Japan defeats USA to win the World Baseball Classic. The Japanese team has defeated the Americans 3-2 to win the 2023 World Baseball Classic in Miami. For Japan, this is the country's third WBC championship after winning the first 2 editions of the tournament in 2006 and 2009. This was the first WBC since 2017 when the Team USA took the trophy. Tournament was postponed from 2021 to 2023 due to the COVID-19 pandemic and was staged in the United States, Japan, and Taiwan. Well, if you think spiders are cool, you'll want to check this out. But if they give you the creeps, maybe just listen to this next story. This is a newly named species of spider found living in Queensland, Australia. It's a tarantula-like golden trapdoor spider. Now, scientists named it Euoplis dignitas. Okay, the females are reddish brown and can grow up to 2 inches. According to a study out in the journal Arachnology this month, its author says scientists have known about this genus since 2017, but they previously only had female specimens. The new discovery of male means they can formally name, describe, and seek protection for the species. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back.
And welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. We have muggy conditions this morning, warm conditions too, and that's all in anticipation or ahead of the next storm system. Right now in Seneca, Missouri, things are looking pretty calm at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, but that's not going to be the case later on tonight. Allergies have been a problem the last few days. It's been on the high scale. Today around 9.4, which is still high, but tomorrow after all the rainfall, it should drop down to around 1.0, which is going to be a great news for a lot of allergy sufferers. Right now we are under flood watch for a large part of the metro area, southeastern Kansas, Cherokee County, southwestern Missouri. This flood watch goes until 1 a.m. on Saturday. The Oklahoma counties are under flood watch until 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. on Friday. That also includes our Benton County in northwestern Arkansas. It's all anticipation of the big storm system that's now starting to pull out into the plains. There's plenty of moisture ahead of the storm system. You can kind of see the curl back here in southeastern Arizona. Once the upper level support starts to move out into our area, we're going to see the showers and storms develop. Right now, temperatures are in the 60s, even some 70s at this hour. 70 in Grove, the same thing in Jay, 69 in Joplin, 66 in Iola. Notice there is a front up to the north, and it's that front that's going to be the focusing mechanism for all the rainfall that we have coming. And dew points are in the 50s and 60s right now, 57 in Yates Center, where they're a little bit behind the front. But ahead of it, dew points are very, very muggy this morning, including in Joplin. 69 right now under cloudy skies, southwest wind at 25, gusting to 37. So hold on to the wheel as you're commuting this morning. Dew point is 59, so we have a humidity of 70%. You can see the flag flying here in Pittsburgh, 67 degrees. And of course, the dew point is 63, so that gives us a humidity of 86%. The winds are gusting out of the south at around 28 miles per hour. The severe risk is there today, but the big severe weather risk is going to be down in southern Oklahoma and north Texas, but it could sneak up into our southern counties like Delaware, Benton, and McDonald's County, maybe southern Berry County as well. But the main concern is going to be the very heavy rainfall. There's a high risk of that. There is a moderate risk of some of the storms producing some hail, but again, the biggest threat is going to be the heavy rainfall. Now tomorrow, the biggest threat is going to be over in southeast Arkansas and Mississippi and Louisiana with the big tornado risk for those folks, but we don't have to worry about that here. Winds are going to be decreasing as we go through the day as the front drops down from the north. The highest winds will be shifting down to the south and east. Then the rain's going to start this evening, and it's going to be continuing for quite some time. Here's a look at the forecast. As we go through the day, the front sags through the area, temperatures dropping into the 50s with rain developing. Then tonight, notice the big swath of rain right over the I-44 corridor. And then as we go through the night into Friday morning, the rain will still be going on with temperatures in the 40s, 30s up to the north. Then by Friday afternoon, it shifts a little bit more to the east. with temperatures in the 40s and 50s. And then northwesterly winds on Saturday morning, we'll see temperatures in the 30s and the 40s. Then Saturday afternoon, we'll see some partly cloudy skies with highs in the 50s. And then on Sunday morning, we'll see lows dropping down into the 30s up to the north, 40s down to the south. Rainfall amounts, they're going to be generous, especially along I-44 where several inches could fall. Isolated amounts even higher than this, like down in McDonald County, 3.25 on the model. Could see more than that in a few isolated spots. So it's very important to keep in mind, turn around, don't drown. There's more than one way to get somewhere generally, and we don't want to put rescuers at risk either to come rescue you because you drove off into high water. So just be aware of that, especially in our southern counties. Lighter amounts of rain up towards the north and west. Over the next 7 days, we have an alert day today and tomorrow because of the heavy rainfall and the flooding threat. Then on Saturday, a little bit of a break with some morning fog. And then on Sunday, the showers come back in the afternoon and evening, and that continues into Monday morning. And then as we move into Tuesday, 60% chance of rain, especially in the morning. And then we dry out for Wednesday and Thursday. More rain comes back in, and that continues into Friday. So we're going into a spring-like pattern with lots of precipitation chances in our forecast. We'll have more news and weather when we come back.
For years, people have relied on barbers for more than cutting their hair, relying on them for things like emotional support and advice. And now a psychologist and barber have teamed up to provide more than haircuts for kids in need in Lincoln, Nebraska. Mary Nilsson has the story.
So how you been doing?
Good.
You doing good? What kind of cut we gonna do?
I can't cut hair, but I can do psychology, and my buddy can cut hair, but I don't know if he can do psychology like me, so you know.
Psychology of life. Just I got the street side, he got the education side to the going to college. Yeah.
This concept itself was born in a barber shop.
We finally just settled on this idea of, well, maybe we should be able to do both of our professions in one space, and that's how the Mentoring in New Dimensions vehicle came about.
That's a lot of hair.
We really wanted to help the youth just grow, figure out problems, solutions.
Partners include the Malone Community Center in Lincoln. This was just their second week.
Since you was 3.
3 years old.
Yeah, okay.
Parents sign their kids up.
They get that connection with an adult, they get to feel better about themselves through their image, and then they also get some mental health support, some counseling.
Barbers are trained on things like trauma and suicide prevention.
It was challenging, but it was so great to do.
They spend 45 minutes with 4 kids at a time. Then a licensed mental health professional spends 45 minutes with the group. Dr. Chatters created the curriculum.
I feel like when you have someone who you can build a relationship with, who cares about you, who is concerned about what's going on in your world, not only does that make you feel better, but it helps you to perform better in school and socially. And the research has shown that. And so that's why this is such an important venture.
Important and totally unique.
I do know of other mobile barbershops, but I don't know of other mobile barbershops that also provide mentoring and counseling by a professional in the same space.
You just run all over the field.
Soon, they hope to do more than talk about sports.
The fun thing about this is we can go out there and play basketball, we can go out there and do activities with them other than just cutting the hair, but that cutting the hair is like a cherry on top, giving them that service to make them look good and feel good.
That was a pretty sweet cut too. Visionary Youth is looking for more experienced barbers to train as mentors and licensed therapists. The group would also like to connect with families and kids who might benefit from their services, and they are also asking for donations. For information, you can visit visionaryyouth.org. We'll be right back. A catastrophe was averted in San Antonio when a cat was rescued after getting stuck on an interstate highway overpass ledge last week. Passerby reported the cat was trapped. 2 animal control workers came, won his trust, and picked him up. The cat has been named Stunt Devil Bridges. He was checked out and found to be in good health except for an apparent respiratory infection. He's now available for adoption at the City of San Antonio's Animal Care Services shelter. Well, Japan's space agency has detected organic molecules in an asteroid near Earth. Researchers collected samples from 2 locations on the carbon-rich diamond-shaped asteroid called Ryugu. Scientists found uracil, one of the building blocks of RNA, and vitamin B3 or niacin, which is a cofactor for metabolism in living organisms. Researchers previously detected other molecules in Rougeau's samples. Uracil and niacin have also been found in meteorites that landed on Earth. Now, these findings are in line with the theory that the building blocks of life originated in space and were delivered to Earth billions of years ago by meteorites.
Pretty interesting. We have some interesting weather coming up. Here's a look at the rainfall amounts that we're expecting with the system tonight and tomorrow morning. Some places could get 2 inches or more. Some places could even get more than 3-4 inches of rainfall by the time all is said and done. So it's going to be a flash flooding type of event. So it's very important for folks in southwestern Missouri and eastern Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas to be paying attention to the weather, especially if you live in those low-lying areas near creeks and streams that have a tendency to flood very easily. And here's a look at our forecast. Today we are under an alert day for today and tomorrow due to the heavy rain, potential flooding. And then Saturday we get a little bit of a break. And then on Sunday we have more rain coming back in. Doesn't look to be a big system at this point, 20% chance of that. And then that goes into Monday morning, and then a bigger chance of rain on Tuesday with a high of 55. Wednesday, drying out again with a high of 63, but then the rain comes back on Thursday and Friday of next week. So we're going into the spring-like pattern. Of course, we'll have all the details on our forecast as well as more news when we come back.
Right now at 6, a car crash in the parking lot of a beauty salon turns into a homicide investigation for authorities in St. Robert, Missouri.
And things are calm right now, but that's not going to be the case as we go through the evening hours. I'll have all the details on the potential flooding.
And one Nevada, Missouri man wants to share his passion for music with his community, regardless of the obstacle.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. I'm Tanya Bach.
And I'm meteorologist Sam Lane, standing in for Chris Warner today, who's enjoying his spring break so far, I think.
He's got one more day.
And then it's back to work. Back to work. We're going to have a lot of work to do tonight, that's for sure, as far as watching the weather. Right now it is all clear out there, but that is not going to be the case as we go through the evening hours. We're going to see lots of showers and storms developing on radar this evening, and there is a potential for some flooding. So as a result, a flood watch is in effect for a large chunk of southwestern Missouri, Cherokee County, Kansas, and that goes until Saturday at 1 a.m. The flood watch is in effect for Oklahoma counties until 7 o'clock on Friday, and that also includes northwestern Arkansas in Benton County. So today we're going to be seeing cloudy skies, and then the rain develops later on today. 68 degrees was our high. That was actually back at midnight. We're going to be seeing temperatures dropping through the day into the 60s, into the 50s by this evening. And taking a look at the rain chances, you can see dramatic increases as we go through the day to basically 100% by 7 o'clock tonight. And looking at the next 36 hours, that continues right on into most of Friday. And of course, I'll have all the details on that coming up in just a little bit. Tanya?
The Kansas Bureau of Investigation identifies the remains of a body found in Wilson County. The body is identified as 43-year-old Stephanie Willard of Fredonia. Her remains were discovered by hunters last Thursday in a pasture in an area near Decatur Road, south of Coyville. KBI asked anyone who had contact with Willard in the last 3 weeks to contact them or the Wilson County Sheriff's Office. Police in St. Robert, Missouri began their investigation into a shooting that left 2 people dead. It started as a car crash in the parking lot of a beauty salon, but has now turned into a homicide investigation. Police will not say much about who the victims are, just that it's a 29-year-old man from Fort Leonard Wood and a 33-year-old woman who worked at the salon. The police chief says their bodies were found behind the salon, and there was another employee in the salon who was not hurt. Family and friends gathered to mourn the deaths.
Great mom, she loved her kids, she'd do anything for her kids. I literally just went on her Facebook and seen a post about it she made yesterday about her kids, so it's just like, to see that and then wake up the next morning and she's gone is heartbreaking, and to imagine what her kids are going through, that's even worse.
No one would confirm if the dead man was in the military, but the Army's CID or Criminal Investigation Division was out there working with St. Robert Police on this case. Sources tell CBS News the work of a Manhattan grand jury is nearly complete in the possible indictment of former President Donald Trump. Meanwhile, there has been a development in another investigation into the former president. one concerning the alleged mishandling of classified documents. Jared Hill has more.
In a surprise move, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg did not convene the grand jury Wednesday, though it could possibly still meet today. It's investigating an alleged hush money payment to former porn star Stormy Daniels back in 2016. Ex-Trump fixer Michael Cohen says former President Trump authorized that payment, a crucial question whether Trump falsified records to hide it. Trump has denied all of it.
We are now at the final moments of the grand jury making a decision. We don't know yet if the prosecutor has formally presented the charges. Once they formally present the charges, the grand jury votes on it.
A small group of anti-Trump demonstrators showed up yesterday outside the courthouse, where law enforcement remains on high alert for possible violent protests. Sources close to Trump say he's been huddling at Mar-a-Lago and that he's even considered holding a news conference here at the courthouse if he's indicted. House Republicans have bashed the Manhattan investigation as political. They're now expanding their own probe into it. Republican senators are also weighing in.
I do think that there are questions that are being asked by a lot of our members, and for that matter, people all across the country, about the prioritization of this DA, of this issue.
Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg and his office have repeatedly said they will not be intimidated. In another Trump-related probe, a federal appeals court has ruled one of Trump's lawyers, Evan Corcoran, must testify and share evidence about the handling of classified materials at Mar-a-Lago. Jared Hill, CBS News, New York.
And CBS News has learned Trump's lawyer could testify in that Washington, D.C. case as soon as tomorrow. Among the evidence he's expected to share, documents and private audio files that could shed some light on what Trump said before and after the FBI searched Mar-a-Lago last year. To be the first to see breaking news, weather, and sports, you can download the KOAM News app. It's available free of charge in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Just search for the KOAM News app. A Nevada, Missouri man does not let his disability prevent him from sharing his musical abilities with the community. Dan Keller shares his love for music with the community, giving others a musical outlet. Now, Dan is blind, but that does not define him. But his love for music does.
Is a connection with me. I was born with this ability to do this kind of thing, and I think really it's just a matter of expressing myself a lot of times, and it reflects personality. Everybody's got a different musical personality, and for me, music is good.
While spending his retirement playing at the local senior center, he occasionally gives piano lessons. KOAM's Amber Jenkins got to meet Dan and has more on his remarkable story coming up when the KOAM Morning News switches over to Fox 14 at 7. Well, some dance moves may change with time, but others can stick around for decades, even centuries. Students with Professor Janice Jewett's dance appreciation class at Pitt State took a trip back in time to learn some dance moves from the late 1800s to the early 1900s. Dances came from many different cultures.
Dance is a part of someone's culture. At a wedding, celebration, this is a way for them to come together and pass down generation. Polka is a great example of something that was brought over and continues to this day.
Polka is my favorite dance. Well, next week, the students will take a tour of Immigrant Park downtown and perform dances at the Pritchett Pavilion. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it must be Chef Anthony? Well, we'll just find out in the test kitchen. He's making preparations for a roasted duck breast. Plus, the number of women who have elected to freeze their eggs has doubled in recent years. We take a look at one woman's journey to try and establish a future for her fertility. And meteorologist Sam Lane takes another look at the 4-state forecast and if we can expect storms to roll through the area. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Well, things are pretty calm right now across the area on your Thursday morning. Just windy, warm, and muggy out there, including Seneca, Missouri, Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. But this area down in southwestern Missouri is going to be seeing a lot of rainfall over the next 24 to 36 hours. And the allergies have been really horrible the last couple of days. Today it's going to be a little bit better, 9.4 on a scale of 12. Tomorrow will be even better with a 1 out of 12. So at least the rainfall is going to wash some of that pollen out. But as a result of all the rainfall, we have a flood watch that's in effect for parts of southwestern Missouri, southeastern Kansas, for Cherokee County. This goes until Saturday at 1 a.m. and then the flood watch is in northeastern Oklahoma until Friday evening at 7, and that also includes our Benton County in northwestern Arkansas. And it's all because of a storm system that's organizing over New Mexico right now, but that's going to be pulling out into the plains, and as it does so, we're going to see rain, showers, and thunderstorms develop later on this evening, and those rainfall amounts are going to really be impressive as we go through the forecast. Right now, this morning, we're seeing temperatures in the 60s and even 70s, like in Grove and Jay right now, 63 in Yates Center, where they're behind the front, and that front is making its way towards the south, pushing into this very moist air mass. You can see dew points in the 60s. Look at this dew point, 66 in Nowata right now. So there is tremendous amounts of water into the atmosphere, and it's all going to get wrung out over the next 24 to 36 hours. Right now in Joplin, it's 68 degrees, south wind at 17, gusting at times to 28. So if you're commuting this morning, hang on to the wheel. 59 is the dew point, so the humidity at 73%. You can see that wind flying here in Pittsburgh with a temperature of 67 degrees, gusting at times to 22 miles per hour on the wind speed. Dew point is 63. And the humidity, 87%. There is a slight risk of severe storms with the activity tonight, but the bulk of the severe weather is going to be down in Oklahoma. We do have a risk of that in our southernmost counties, but the biggest concern is going to be the heavy rainfall and the flooding risk. There might be a storm or two that has some large hail, and of course we'll keep an eye on that for you. But tomorrow the severe weather risk shifts over into the Delta region of the Mississippi River. There's going to be a lot of tornadoes down in southeast Arkansas, northeast Louisiana, and western Mississippi. Thank goodness that's not going to be anywhere near us. Instead, we're going to be dealing with rain. Temperatures this afternoon are going to be in the 50s behind that cold front. Rain developing this evening, and by 10 o'clock tonight, you'll see this swath of heavy rain across our area with temperatures in the 40s and the 50s. Then as we go into Friday morning, the rain will still be with us with temperatures in the 40s. But then as we go through Friday afternoon, the rain starts to shift to the south and east on northerly winds with temperatures in the 40s and the 50s. And then as we go into Saturday morning, we'll see readings in the 30s, especially up towards the north, maybe some lower 40s down to the south, but at least it'll be drier. That will continue into Saturday afternoon with highs in the mid to upper 50s. And then as we go into Sunday morning, we'll see lows in the 30s in the north, 40s down to the south. Rainfall amounts are going to be very impressive in some isolated spots. We're looking at around 2 inches into purple here, 3 inches, maybe even more inches, especially down in southwestern Missouri. So if you live near a creek or a stream in that area, just be aware of the situation over the next day or so. Rainfall is going to be very heavy today and tomorrow, so we have alert day in effect. Saturday drier, more rain showers on Sunday, and then as we move into Monday, we'll start to see some showers, especially in the morning. Then more rain on Tuesday, drier for Wednesday, and then yet more storm activity on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at the tail end of next week. So just be aware of the flooding risk, especially in southwestern Missouri, northwest Arkansas, and the counties in Oklahoma. So if you live near those streams, just be extra careful driving, especially late tonight and tomorrow morning. Now stay with us because we have Chef Anthony in the studio, and he's going to be baking up some nice treats for us today, and we'll have that when we come back.
Welcome back. We have Chef Anthony this morning from Pittsburgh High School joining us with a couple of birds. I'm told they're not pets. They are a project.
Yes, they are. This is our class project right now. We're talking a lot about sustainability and knowledge of where your food comes from. So we've talked about victory gardens and having chickens at home and understanding where beef comes from and how it's raised and the quality and things that are necessary to get from point A to point B.
Right.
So this is Howard and Bernadette. They are cute little ducklings. They are now class project, but they're learning to understand what it takes to raise an animal, what the expectations are, the harvesting, the needs that go into it. But on top of everything else, they're they're gaining an understanding of why we want things like this around.
Do you know which
So,
one is which?
Howard is the one with the really dark face, and Bernadette's the one without the dark face.
Okay. So you know by naming them, it's going to be even harder at the end of this project.
Well, if you ask me, their names are Peking and Foie Gras.
So what kind of ducks do we have here?
You know, I don't know. I didn't ask.
Oh, okay.
Yummy ones. They're will very likely, I hope my students aren't watching this, very likely not going to end up on their plate, but they think they might end up on their plate. But it's important for them to understand this. I took the idea from Gordon Ramsay, who wanted to educate his children about what it takes to get Thanksgiving dinner on their plate.
Okay.
So they went out and they bought 5 live turkeys. And his kids raised the turkeys for Thanksgiving.
Let me guess, he has 4 kids.
Yes. 4 kids, and one of the turkeys was his. So they raised the turkeys, they took care of them, they learned how to take care of them. Well, from my understanding, they didn't make it onto the plate. I don't know for certain, but I don't think they did.
That's a lot of pardons.
It is a lot of pardons. But we live in an area where we teach our kids about food. They recognize food, they understand where grain comes from. But 1 in 6 Americans between the ages of 12 and 65 believe that chocolate milk comes from a brown cow.
Oh, no.
That's a little more than the population of the state of Pennsylvania. So we are failing our next generations if we don't educate them about it. Having chickens at home reduces your waste because they'll eat all the organic waste coming out of your kitchens. So you can feed them that. They grow up, they produce eggs. You don't have to put them on the kitchen table until they're old, but they'll produce eggs so you can save money on your egg consumption and your waste bill goes down.
Very true.
Learning about all of this, I mean, it's the circle of life is exactly what it is. It's learning about all of it, all aspects of it. And today, in the next hour, we're going to make these beautiful duck breasts. So we're going to see what these guys can become.
Okay, so ducks like these, how long would you need to raise them if your goal was to raise them to eat, to get them to the size to have duck breasts like this?
6 to 8 months.
6 to 8 months.
Yes. So, and it doesn't take very long. These guys would normally be in a coop outside, but because I don't have a coop outside and my students interact with them on a daily basis, I keep them in this. When they get a little bit bigger, this will be too small for them. I'll get something larger for them. But to me, food is all about learning and family and happiness and all that other stuff. And to see students coming from around the building, to see them, to interact with them, to play with them, it warms my heart.
You were definitely telling me that Howard has imprinted on you, and I believe it. Your voice has been so soothing to him throughout this that he is now asleep.
They do really great. My kids have dressed him up in little skirts. So it's great. But everything we're going to do for the next segment is all right here. This is everything you need.
Okay, well, when we come back on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, we're going to show you how to make roasted duck breast, not with Howard and Bernadette. Don't worry. We'll be right back. Topping Health Watch this morning, staff COVID testing at U.S. nursing homes saved lives during the pandemic. That's the finding of a new study in the New England Journal of Medicine. Research shows weekly testing led to fewer infections and deaths among nursing home residents, even before vaccines were available. Doctors in Sweden say young people with anxiety and depression may benefit from medical sleep treatment. When melatonin was prescribed for sleep issues, researchers found children and teens, especially girls, were less likely to harm themselves. In 2020, more than 12,000 women froze their eggs, nearly double from 2016. A new study from NYU Langone shows the average age of a woman who freezes her eggs is about 38, and her chance of a live birth from those eggs is 39%. Nikki Batiste follows one woman's journey.
I know that I want kids one day.
Erin Hanley was 33 when she decided to freeze her eggs, a process that requires around 2 weeks of hormone shots.
So I like to do this little bit of ice.
The hormones stimulate follicles in a woman's ovaries to produce multiple eggs. Once the eggs have grown enough, they're surgically removed. Only around 80% are typically mature enough to be frozen.
They retrieved 20 and then they ended up freezing 14.
About 30% will go on to become viable embryos, but not all the embryos will lead to pregnancy.
Whenever you're freezing eggs, you always have to remember that 14 eggs will not equate to 14 babies.
Dr. Rachel McConnell, a reproductive endocrinologist at Columbia University Fertility Center, says Erin has about an 80% chance of at least one live birth from her 14 eggs.
I think it's very important for patients to look at egg freezing as another step to hopefully protect them for the future, but it's definitely not a guarantee.
In general, for women of all ages, 25 frozen eggs will lead to one live birth. Egg freezing can cost anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a cycle. Currently, 18 states mandate insurers cover some form of fertility treatment. Most risks of egg freezing are minimal. Side effects from the hormone shots can include breast tenderness, mood swings, and bloating.
How much hope were you given that freezing your eggs would lead to someday having a baby?
I think it was definitely hope, because it's better than not having it at all.
Fertility doctors suggest educating women about reproductive health by their mid-20s because biological clocks tick faster than we think. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
All right, we're watching radar right now. Nothing on it, but that's going to be changing as we go through the evening hours, and especially down in Oklahoma this evening, and then it will start to spread out from southwest to northeast across our area. And as a result of the anticipated heavy rainfall, a flood watch is in effect for southwestern Missouri, southeastern Kansas, Cherokee County only, and then in Oklahoma, Craig, Ottawa, and Delaware County. That watch goes until 7 o'clock on Friday evening. That also includes Benton County in Arkansas. The watch in southeast Kansas and southwest Missouri goes all the way until Saturday morning at 1 p.m. or 1 a.m. I should say. Today we're going to see cloudy skies in the morning. Then as we go through the day, the rain will start to develop down in Oklahoma and then start to move up into our area. 60 degrees by 2 o'clock, and by 4 p.m. scattered showers around with a temperature of 58. We're going to see dropping temperatures as we go through the day. As the temperatures drop, precipitation chances dramatically increase. And by 7 o'clock tonight, it's basically going to be around 100% across the area. And then if we look over the next 36 hours, the rain chances remain very high as we go through the overnight hours into tomorrow morning. And we're looking down the lane, the flood watch in effect for today and tomorrow, and then drier on Saturday, and then some showers again on Sunday. And of course, I'll have more details on our forecast when we come back.
Right now at 6:30, one field of healthcare looks to cure itself of the ailment of too few workers with the help of Cox College in Springfield.
Radar is clear right now, but we're under a flood watch, and I'll tell you what that means in our forecast.
Financing and refinancing a home can feel like a colossal undertaking, but one regional bank has some tips to lighten the load.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach.
And I'm meteorologist Sam Lane, filling in for Chris Warner this morning, who's enjoying spring break.
Yeah.
And it's going to be more spring-like out there. It feels like that right now. You know, it's very warm, very, very muggy. In fact, the precipitable water values, which is one of the figures that we look at, is like almost setting records this morning. It just goes to show you how much water is in the atmosphere. And that water is going to be coming down in the form of rainfall, and a lot of it. Radar is clear right now, but that is not going to remain the case as we go through the evening hours. In fact, a flood watch is in effect for southwestern Missouri, Cherokee County, and southeastern Kansas, and that goes until Saturday at 1 a.m. In Oklahoma, that's Ottawa, Craig, Delaware, Mayes, and Rogers counties. That goes until 7 o'clock tomorrow evening, and that also includes northwestern Arkansas with Benton County, as that's where we're thinking the axis of the heaviest rain is going to be basically setting up along the I-44 corridor. Cloudy skies this morning, and then as we head into the afternoon hours, we'll see the rain starting to develop. Temperatures are going to be dropping through the day as we have a front dropping down from the north. So we'll start out in the 60s, and then we're going to be dropping down into the 50s by this evening. And as temperatures drop, rain chances dramatically increase, basically 100% by 7 o'clock tonight on your 7 to 7 forecast. And the rain chances continue to be high overnight into tomorrow morning, all the way through to tomorrow evening. So we're going to be dealing with the wet weather in our area for quite some time. And as a result, we do have that flood watch in effect for today extending into Friday, and then drier on Saturday finally, but then more showers come in as we head into Sunday, and I'll tell you how many more chances of rain we have in our forecast coming up in just a little bit.
All right, thanks, Sam. The healthcare industry is among Missouri's biggest employers, but there's still a major workforce shortage, and that includes in the field of occupational therapy, a field that helps people get back to their jobs. Joe Hickman has a look at the way Cox College in Springfield is addressing the OT shortage.
And then just do what you normally do at home. So go ahead and grab the handles, and 1, 2, 3, we're gonna stand.
Doing something as simple as brushing your teeth is a task many of us take for granted. But here at Cox College, students are training to get a Master of Science in Occupational Therapy so they can go out and help people in recovery with their physical, psychological, and sensory skills to return to their daily lives. The patients could be anywhere from a newborn to someone in their final stages of life. So it takes a caring, patient kind of person to take on the challenge.
The opportunity to work with patients from babies up until that death and dying hospice area of developmental age of life, I think really spoke to me.
Occupational therapists often meet families and individuals on their very worst day, not their very best day. And an OT can help partner with someone who's had a chronic illness, who has a developmental delay, or who has chronic pain or trauma that they didn't expect. No one plans for that.
Located in the shadows of Cox North Hospital, Cox College started as the Burge Training School for Nurses in 1907, but now offers other health-related programs that all could use more employees.
Certainly we all know that nursing is by far the largest shortage, but we look at shortages across the board. Are our classes filled? Yes, but can we take more students? Absolutely.
And that's why, starting in May, Cox College will be adding a doctorate degree to its occupational therapy program, as after 116 years of education,
it's our first doctoral degree.
And those with 90 credit hours can still apply for the highest type of college academic degree that brings with it more responsibilities in today's ever-changing healthcare world.
They will be part of the solution for expanding healthcare access, to be innovative, to find solutions to the complexity of the healthcare problems that exist today, and to provide access to therapies that might not exist or be accessible for clients currently.
Applications are now open for the program's inaugural class. You can learn more about Cox College's occupational therapy doctorate program at coxcollege.edu. Well, it's a time of financial uncertainty for many people right here in the 4 states, and some may have questions about refinancing their home during these times. Arvest Bank is offering tips for people who may have questions or just want to learn how to do so. They say rates have been changing through the years.
As you know, in the last year or two, rates have done nothing but get higher. I mean, you're going to have a lot of people who bought their homes. They're going to be around 2 1/4. Obviously, they're going to be a lot less than where they are now. Rates have gone up drastically in the last, couple of years. So you're going to have some people that are sitting on such a low rate that it does make a big difference.
Refinancing rates vary from person to person because they're determined by credit score and debt-to-income ratio. Well, it's March Madness, and one local university made the Elite Four, but not in basketball. They did it academically. It's for Pitt State's Mechanical Contractors Association of America chapter, part of the School of Construction. Pitt State Group was one of 22 chapters to submit a proposal for a national energy project last fall, and the school has now advanced to the Final Four. Well, the travel industry has seen a boom this year with a number of eager travelers despite economic uncertainties with inflation, gas prices, and more. However, Joplin travel agents tell us travelers may experience more layovers and other delays due to the worker shortage.
I think people are, kind of cooped up from the pandemic, and, they're ready to get out and ready to explore the world. We've seen a huge influx in travel this year. We're about at 94% back to pre-pandemic levels.
Agents believe time will help the worker shortage. Well, this morning we're discussing handling grief.
Yeah. Jeff Ratzlaff wants people to release and to let go, and he understands firsthand about carrying the weight of words left unsaid, doors left unclosed, and Ratzlaff wanted to build a phone booth as a portal to help people get to the other side of grief. And the idea is that messages said aloud in here would symbolically be delivered by the wind.
In partnership with the center, the city of Olathe plans to create a QR code directing people to 988, National Mental Health Crisis Line, for those looking for help. Ratzlaff says the phone booth was built in honor of his sister-in-law, who passed away last year, and he hopes this structure that brought so much healing for his family will help peel back the layers for thousands in our community.
Great idea. And of course, that brings us to our question this morning is how do you relate to grief? And we've gotten the results here. It looks like 60%, a combination of things, which makes a lot of sense.
And those ideas that we put out there, extra rest, embracing all your emotions, that got 20%. Exercise by keeping structure, setting goals. So it makes sense. A combination sounds healthy.
Absolutely. All right.
All right, well, that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. The Federal Reserve raises interest rates by 0.25 percentage point, the 9th hike of 2023, but the recent banking collapse may have the Fed reconsidering future moves.
And we have lots of warm and windy weather out there this morning. And what does that mean in our forecast? Well, I'll have the answer when we come back. You're watching the KOAM Morning News, more real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
In Consumer Watch this morning, TikTok CEO Xiao Zizhu will testify before a House committee today. According to prepared testimony, he will tout that the U.S. has 150 million users and insists their information is stored on American soil, overseen by an American company. Federal and several state governments have banned use of TikTok on their phones over concerns its parent company could be forced to give user data to the Chinese government. And there are growing calls from lawmakers for the app to be banned in the entire U.S. Yesterday, TikTok influencers held a news conference outside of the Capitol in support of the app. Well, it's been 13 years since the Affordable Care Act, also called Obamacare, became law. President Biden, who was vice president at that time, will hold an event to highlight the anniversary of the signature health care bill. The White House says more than 40 million Americans have enrolled in medical plans under the Affordable Care Act. Starting today, items from the Murdaugh family's South Carolina estate are expected to go for sale at a Georgia auction house. Some of the items up for sale include couches and lamps. It comes just weeks after the family's patriarch, Alec Murdaugh, was convicted of killing his wife and son on the property. He was later sentenced to life in prison. The Federal Reserve raised interest rates again in its effort to fight inflation, but the recent collapse of two banks has the Fed rethinking future hikes. Skylar Henry has the details.
The Federal Reserve raised interest rates by 0.25 percentage point on Wednesday. It's the 9th hike in a year as the central bank fights inflation.
It's proceeding more slowly than we would have liked, but it's certainly proceeding.
Rising prices for staples like bread and milk are costing American households an average of $372 more a month. Meanwhile, the rate hikes have made borrowing more expensive, such as for mortgages and credit cards. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell says it could be several years before the central bank hits its target.
The process of getting inflation back down to 2% has a long way to go and is likely to be bumpy.
After the recent stumble in the banking system, the Fed now expects to raise rates just once more this year. A necessary slowdown, according to CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
We are really in the middle of this period of time where we don't know how banking conditions are going to work out, and we don't know the impact on the overall economy yet.
Regulators have repeatedly expressed confidence in the banking system following the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen told Congress that banks are taking action to survive in the event of a bank run.
Banks across the country are shoring up their liquidity. They are very worried about contagion.
The White House tells CBS News that President Biden remains confident in Powell's ability to oversee the Federal Reserve. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
Yellen says the Treasury Department is not considering blanket insurance for all bank deposits, but it will come to the rescue of small banks when it is needed. On Wednesday, General Motors announced it will stop production on the current 6th generation of the iconic Chevrolet Camaro. The company says production is expected to end early next year. To mark the end of production, GM says it will release a collector's edition package that will pay homage to the first generation introduced in the 60s. GM says a new generation of the popular muscle car is in the works. Chevrolet's VP says, quote, "Rest assured, this is not the end of the Camaro's story." Industry insiders say if GM brings back a new generation of the Camaro, it will very likely be electric, which would be in line with the company's EV goals. That's it for Consumer Watch. Here's Sam with another look at your forecast.
All right. Thank you very much, Tanya. We're expecting rain to develop later on this evening as we have a front dropping down from the north. Temperatures are going to be dropping all day into the 50s, even some 40s up towards the north. Then the rain will start to develop in Oklahoma and then move up and right over this front, especially just immediately behind the front, right along the I-44 corridor. And as you can see, as we go through the nighttime hours, look at this large swath of rain, very heavy rain, extending all the way from Tulsa right up through Veneta, Miami, Joplin metro area, up to Greenfield. Lesser amounts to the north and west with temperatures in the 40s and the 50s. And then as we go through time, you'll see these showers still with us tomorrow morning with temperatures in the 40s for the most part, a few 30s up towards the north. And then as we take a look over the next 24 hours, these are the rainfall amounts we're expecting. Generally several inches of rain, especially along and south of I-44. So flood watch is in effect for a large part of this region. And so if you're traveling out and about, just be aware of that and don't be driving off into high water. Turn around, don't drown. And we're going to be seeing these rainfall amounts very, very intense. And over the next 7 days, we're going to have several chances of rain. Today and tomorrow, we're under the alert day. Saturday, we dry out, but then Sunday showers come back, extending into Monday morning. Then a better chance of rain on Tuesday, especially in the morning. And then more chances of rain beyond that on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of next week. So we're definitely getting into more of a spring-like and wet-like pattern across our area. Celebrate birthdays and anniversaries, but first let's see what's happening on CBS Mornings right now.
I'm Tony Nicole. Coming up on CBS Mornings, Emmy Award-winning actor Kiefer Sutherland will be here to talk about his new action thriller series. It is called Rabbit Hole. Also, why he is so excited to get that role. That is coming up on CBS Mornings.
All right, we're going to kick off our birthday list this morning for the 23rd of March with Spencer Creets, turning 6 years old. What a cutie there in Pittsburgh.
And we have Abby York in Weir, Kansas, turning 12 years old today. Happy birthday, Abby.
Nice catch there, Abby. Jasmine Camp, welcome to the teenage years there. 13 for Jasmine. Oh, Daniel's got it in for him. That is the daughter of our KOAM operations supervisor, Daniel Camp. They live in Pittsburgh.
And Noah Price is 13 years old, and that is Jesse Williams' nephew. So happy birthday, Noah.
All right, and of course, so Jesse Williams is celebrating there. On the right, Jesse is 35. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, they share the same
Aunt and
birthday.
nephew sharing the same birthday.
And Riverton, Kansas, we have Megan Hill turning 34 years old today. Happy birthday, Megan. Looking good there.
That's a great picture of Megan. Joyce Bates, great picture of Joyce, turning 69 in Arma. Happy birthday, Joyce.
And we have some anniversaries. We have Scott and Shirley Honchell, 44 years in Carthage, Missouri. Happy anniversary to you both today.
And it's our man, Gary and Desma Cisco's 10th anniversary. Gary is our technical media operator, one of our directors here at KOAM. They are celebrating their 10th anniversary, living in Baxter Springs. All right, if you have a birthday or an anniversary, you can send them to this email. It's easy to do. Don't forget the S on it, though. birthdays@KOAMnewsnow.com.
And also, don't forget that you can join the KOAM Birthday Club, and you can do that by going to our website and signing up. And you get all the details and special deals from local businesses. Just go to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club and do that today. And we have rain on the way. Right now it's not raining, but it's going to be changing over the next 24 to 36 hours. Right now in Seneca, Missouri, you can see at the Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, mostly cloudy skies and dry conditions, but we're going to be seeing the rain develop later on this evening, and it's going to be a lot of rainfall. It's going to help out with the allergies as well, but yesterday we were very high in the allergy index, and today it's a little bit better, 9.4. Tomorrow it'll of course be down to 1 because of all the rainfall washing all the pollen and allergens out of the atmosphere. We have a flood watch in effect for southwestern Missouri, southeastern Kansas. That goes until Saturday 1 a.m. And then in northeastern Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas, that flood watch goes until 7 p.m. on Friday. And it's all because of this big storm system that's now moving into southwestern New Mexico. That's going to be moving up into our area, and there's plenty of moisture for this system to wring out in the form of rainfall. We are seeing precipitable water values near record levels, and basically what that means is that there is a lot of water in the atmosphere in all the various layers, and when that storm system taps into that, that's when we expect to see the heavy rainfall to begin. Temperatures right now are in the 60s, and there is a front up towards the north and west. That's going to be moving into our area, and you can see the dew points are in the 60s and lots of moisture to go around. And as we head through the forecast, we're going to be seeing the rain developing later on tonight. Right now it's 68 degrees with a south wind at 20, gusting up to 32 miles per hour. And in Pittsburgh, you can see the flag flying there with a temperature of 66 and the dew point of 63, making a humidity of 89%. Severe weather, that's going to be down to the south, and the main threat in our area is going to be the very heavy rainfall. In fact, we could see several inches in our region. We'll be back after this. Coming up on the morning news, we are making the transition over to Fox 14. Amber Jenkins takes us to a town in Missouri where someone is inspiring us with, he wants to share his love of music with his community and won't let a disability stop him. Join us for that story and more on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 at 7.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. The Kansas Bureau of Investigation identifies the remains of a body found in Wilson County as 43-year-old Stephanie Willard of Fredonia. Her remains were discovered by hunters last Thursday in a pasture in an area near Decatur Road, south of Coyville. KBI asked anyone who had contact with Willard in the last 3 weeks to contact them or the Wilson County Sheriff's Office. Police in St. Robert, Missouri investigate a shooting that left 2 people dead. What began as a car crash in the parking lot of a beauty salon has now turned into a homicide investigation. Police say the bodies of 29-year-old man from Fort Leonard Wood and a 33-year-old woman who worked at the salon were found behind the salon. There was another employee in the salon who was not hurt. It's a time of financial uncertainty for many people right here in the 4 states, and some people may have questions about refinancing their home during these times. Arvest Bank is offering tips for people who may have questions or just want to learn how to do so, because there are a lot of factors that go into refinancing. The travel industry is booming with the number of eager travelers despite economic uncertainties with inflation, gas prices, and more. However, Joplin travel agents tell us travelers may experience more layovers and other delays due to the worker shortage. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
All right, and we also need to know before you head out the door to take your rain jacket and your umbrella, especially if you're going to be out all day, because we have a flood watch that's in effect for southwestern Missouri that goes until 1 a.m. Also includes Cherokee County in southeastern Kansas and, of course, northeastern Oklahoma until 7 o'clock on Friday. So we're going to be watching the radar very, very closely over the next few hours.
All right, we'll keep an eye on it for sure. Well, coming up today at noon, we're making dreamy flan in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
And your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. David Begnod introduces us to the world-renowned polar explorer who's doing the unthinkable after surviving cancer. His incredible comeback story coming up on CBS Mornings.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, Chef Anthony is back into the test kitchen to show us how to prepare a roasted duck breast.
Plus, if you're a first-time home buyer, we've got some tips on the experts on how to take advantage of historically low home prices. But I think that's going to do it for us for this hour.
That's right. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning, and we'll do it again today at noon.